Hi, this is Scott from Bricklanta, and in this video I'm talking about the BrickTrac LEGO inventory management software and building minifigs from existing inventory. This is a small feature, but a really handy one in certain specific situations. Right now I'm using build 76, and the minifig build function currently has a few limitations. It can only build one at a time, and it can only build from parts that are in the same location. So right now, it's not a general search function that looks across your inventory to see what's buildable. So what's an example situation in which this might be useful? Let's go to the Move Between Locations form here in the green Manage Item Inventory section. I recently converted a used set I have, Hagrid's Hut, into parted out inventory. Check out the video about set management to see more details about doing that. This set had two minifigs, an Albus Dumbledore and a Hagrid. If I scroll to the bottom, you can see that the two minifig heads are listed here. Let's select Rubeus Hagrid. You're a minifigure, Harry. I'd like to sell Hagrid as a whole minifig, not as component parts. So I right-click on this last row and I get two options. Number one, I can view it on rebrickable.com. But number two, I can try to replace all the Hagrid parts with a single Hagrid minifig in this location. Let's click that. We get a little pop-up window called Build Minifig, and you can see there's Hagrid, HP009. If there were multiple Hagrid variants I could build, they'd all appear next to each other here. So this is a very simple form. I have all the parts needed to build this minifig in this location: the head, the beard, and the body. If I click on Hagrid, his box turns yellow, and the Build Minifig button below is enabled. I can still hit Cancel here, which will close the pop-up and leave everything as it is. If I click the Build Minifig button, though, BrickTrac will remove these pieces and replace them with the minifigure, just like that. So let's do this. Sometimes this takes a second or two, if the location is synced with BrickLink. And you can see that the Rubeus Hagrid head is now gone from this list. The minifigure is all the way up at the top here with no color. I can now move it to a different location for sale or just leave it here. Let's try building the Dumbledore minifig. If I right-click on Albus Dumbledore head and select Replace Parts with Minifig, nothing happens. In this case, I don't have all the parts necessary to build a minifig, so no approval form appears. A couple notes on this process. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, you can only do one fig at a time. So if you're converting 20 identical figs, this could take a minute. Sorry, handling multiple copies is on the future roadmap. Second, this particular location is unsynced, meaning that only BrickTrac knows about these pieces. They're not synced to BrickLink at all. So the new Hagrid minifigure is also not synced to BrickLink. However, I could have also done this in a location that is for sale online. And what would happen is that you'd see this change reflected in your BrickLink store immediately. 3 parts would come out of your store and the Hagrid minifig would appear. Third, the process tries to preserve batch information for cost and revenue tracking. However, if the component parts came from different batches, there's just no way currently to track multiple batches in a single minifig. BrickTrac assigns the entire minifig to the same batch that the initial piece you selected was. Lastly, as I mentioned before, at this time, all the component parts need to be in the same location. So if you keep your heads in one drawer and your beards in another, this won't work yet. Why do I have this limitation? That seems like a cool idea. Well, it is a cool idea, but building a minifig from parts in a single location means there's no risk of an inventory mismatch. All the parts are still there, they're just listed as an assembly instead of individually. However, if the parts were in multiple locations, BrickTrac would have to have a picking screen to make sure that you get each part physically out of their original locations and into the new one, and that's just not feasible quite yet. I hope you find this useful. It's definitely the right solution for parting out sets and before sorting. Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get notified when new tutorials get posted.